morning and welcome to another episode of Business Beat with me, Odette. We are still talking retail because retail contributes a very big chunk to the South African economy. It also is a very big contributor to jobs. And it's the space that you and I visit most frequently in various ways in order to acquire the things that we need, be it bread or milk or a vinyl record. With me today is not only somebody most well known for being Mr. Nasty, he's also a very successful businessman, but somebody with great insights from all over the world about how consumers interact with the business and how businesses should interact with their consumers. Welcome, Randall Abrahams.
Thanks, Odette.
Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about the retail industry because COVID has had a significant impact on how people shop, lots of shops closing down, the way people are engaging with brands. And in the last few months, we've seen iconic brands like Studifits, no more. Recently, Musica, no more. We've seen brands like Edgar's almost go to no more until they were bought out.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, the pandemic has had a dramatic impact across the world when it comes to retail. On the opposite side, you've seen businesses like Amazon grow by 20%. But bricks and mortar retail have obviously been affected by lockdowns across the world, by, even when there isn't a lockdown, people may feel that they need to think twice before they enter into a bricks and mortar retailer. So obviously really, really challenging. But that doesn't mean that there aren't brands in the bricks and mortar space that aren't successful, that aren't going to be able to rebuild and go on to be even more successful than they've been prior to the pandemic. But a lot of that is about planning and the way that they've seen their business before COVID-19. My personal feeling is, and I've worked for myself long enough to know, I plan for the worst.
Of course.
I'm always planning for the worst.
You have to have a plan when you're in business, right?
I'm always thinking, don't spend that money, just keep it because anything can happen. And by anything, I don't mean, the unfortunate situation of a worldwide pandemic, but I think that a lot of businesses, the ones that are going to be successful post the pandemic, are the ones that have been planning for not just such a situation, but have said to themselves, what do we need to do in the next 5 to 10 years?
To stay relevant, to
for
engage
growth,
the consumer
all those
in a relevant
sorts of
way.
Things. Absolutely.
I mean, the fourth industrial revolution is upon us. So digital is a way of life. We know that 50% of South Africans have smartphones and they use their smartphones to access the internet.
Well, forget smartphones even. 100% of South Africans have phones. Doesn't mean that you need a smartphone and an app in order to communicate.
And to shop. I mean, we've seen such a spike in online shopping.
Absolutely.
And
again, there have been some brands that, Checkers, I think, is a very good example of a brand that not only has embraced the online community and grown their online community, but in terms of their stores, this is not the Checkers of 5-10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Checkers that has partnerships with Starbucks, all sorts of, brand-specific, emotive opportunities. So forget that Starbucks as a business hasn't been terribly successful in South Africa, but what does it say emotionally to the consumer about Checkers in that partnership?
The 60/60 app or service just blew up, right?
Absolutely.
Not just because you can place an order, for things that you would normally go, bread, milk, little things that you would buy, in store and have it delivered. They created a whole new job opportunity for people, absolutely, who were unemployed previously, right?
Ecosystem. And I think what is important there also is that, let's say that business has increased turnover by 50%.
Yeah.
And hopefully by next year, everybody's been vaccinated, we've got herd immunity. It's not as though that business, they may not be able to maintain the 50% growth, but they may be able to maintain 40%.
But they're not going to be closing down anytime soon.
Exactly. And the way that people have engaged with online shopping is not going to go away. It's not as though people are suddenly going to, and I think that's what Checkers have realized. Yes, our stores look great. We've got partnerships. So if people want to come into our stores, absolutely. But if they want to at the same time, they've forgotten about, and I'm sure you've been in this situation, you're very, very busy, you forget this, you forget that. You need to say to your husband, just get X. He's also really busy. So get it delivered.
Absolutely. So you are the walking encyclopedia of music.
People tell me this.
People who don't know what an encyclopedia is, it's the Wikipedia of music.
Yeah.
Your passion is music.
Absolutely.
A big, iconic music brand is no more. What, in your opinion, are the learnings from that? Because we know that there are people who are, for example, vinyl enthusiasts, music enthusiasts, who will drive to the ends of the earth to go and get what they want, right?
So music was the first record store I ever bought a record at with my dad in 1980.
Wow.
I think the record cost $11.99.
Do you remember which record it was?
Absolutely, Elvis 40 Golden Hits, and it was like $11.99 for a double album.
Oh wow!
I haven't done the inflation over the past 40 years, but so absolutely, and it absolutely was an iconic brand, because I remember going into Musica at that time and being able to listen to the record on headphones.
Yes.
And for a family that, we had a record player, but we didn't have headphones, it was an experience, like headphones. I know, like, kids out there are probably laughing at me.
Yeah,
but it was
AirPods.
but it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I can remember. And I think that if you look at the mom and pop type vinyl stores across the world, there are books about what vinyl stores to go and visit around the world, and people do.
They're usually successful.
They'll go to Berlin and they'll be like, I have to take 2 days to go to all these record stores. I know I've got to see the Berlin Wall, but I want to see all these record stores. If I'm a record collector and I go to LA or to San Francisco, I'll go to Amoeba. I've never been to San Francisco in my life, but the next time I go to Los Angeles, I will drive to San Francisco, and destination 1 will be Amoeba, because it's that iconic.
But now look at that. You're prepared to drive, to go all the way to a bricks and mortar store.
Absolutely. For the experience.
South Africa, in my opinion, has a lot to learn from overseas retailers, right? Where you have buildings like Macy's in New York, floors and floors, each floor with loads and loads of retailers on them. I remember a time when my luggage didn't make it to Paris. I was in and out in 48 hours. I had an event and meetings on the day that I landed, and I had meetings on the day after, before I was due to fly out. My luggage was not going to make it before I was due to come back home. And I rushed down to Printemps. Now, this is a country where they don't speak much English. And the minute I got there, it can be quite overwhelming to see this retail store that is literally like 12, 15 stories. And I went to the information desk. Immediately, they asked me what my problem was. I told them what my situation was. They asked me to sit down, gave me a cup of coffee and a croissant, got a personal shopper, gave the shopper my list. This person went and got all options of the kinds of clothes I would need for meetings and an event. Also got me samples from the cosmetics counters, knowing that I was just going to be there for 48 hours. Sure. I will never forget that experience. Absolutely. And any and every opportunity I get to go to Paris, I go to Printemps.
And you'll tell other people.
I'm telling you, I'm telling the whole of South Africa at the moment.
Exactly. And I think that's really important, is that you provide your customer an experience, because your customer is a marketer at the same time. Sure, you've got a marketing team and you've got a PR team, but your customer is as much a marketer as you are.
Marketing is common sense. The problem is sense is not that common.
Absolutely.
On that happy note, we unfortunately have to wrap. To the viewer, you have an expert opinion in somebody who is an entrepreneur, a successful one, somebody who is a consumer of a very niche product, vinyl, somebody who's world-renowned in terms of different stores and experienced in terms of travel. He knows what a good consumer experience is all about. So if you're that business owner, no matter how big or how small you are, I think this is the time to sit up straight and listen to what was said today. Do you offer a really good experience? Do you know your customer enough to be able to reach out to them and say, hey, pop by the store, I have just what you need. Until next week.